I know that it was pretty low key last night. I'm trying to get on here a little bit early tonight. It's kind of a cloudy day. The weather's not cooperating. It's kind of, you know, I don't know what your spring has been like ever since we got into last week and Holy Week and everything. It's been like just cooler weather. So, I've been inspired to do a lot of regular videos, which I have done. Um, did a lot of stuff, but um, just coming out and about, putting some stuff up, just getting inspired, but just trying to see what's going on. Um, I can never say when I'm gonna get here exactly because due to times and so on and so forth. But I'm live in color today, so let's see who comes through. See what you want to talk about. I'm gonna give people plenty of time. I'm gonna see if anybody comes through. If anybody comes through, we will talk. I'm gonna, you know, I am here live in color, so let's see what we're working with. Um, it's talking about Cassie and Ark and Puffy. Um, just seeing if people wanna what they got on their mind. Anyway, just reading stuff. Up for conversation, see what's up. So there's a lot of stuff going on every day. 2024 seems to be like something's up. So hmm, see what's up. What's up? What's up? Let's rap. That's up. You front and center today, so let's chop it up. Yesterday I had other heads come through, and I know I got on a little bit later, so that's probably why. But there's a lot of stuff to get into. Um, what you think about that LeBron forum last night? Got some Draymond in him. And that ain't the first rodeo, because that's what happened with old boy from Detroit last year. Throwing them old low key shots, throwing them forearms, hitting people on the head. He's starting to look like he could be on the verge of getting out the league in a year or two more and more because Bronny ain't cutting it. That's what it sounds like to me. He's in his pockets having an offensive bag is overrated. That's a lie. Duncan did have a bag. What the heck is he talking about? Duncan could shoot inside, outside. He could shoot off the glass. He could give you a hook. He could give you a set shot. He could dunk. He could drive. He could post. He could repost. What the heck is LeBron James talking about? Thank you. You just gave me a subject for tomorrow. Thank you for this. I'm gonna use this for a video tomorrow. Talking about. It's not overrated. The heck is he talking about? Let me see. That's what he said. Let me see. LeBron said offensive bag. So I seen Kevin McHale use his arms like an octopus and create options. I seen if you have a step move, yeah, you got to be great at one thing. It's only overrated if you're behind ain't great at one thing. Now, like Reggie Miller could shoot a set shot deep range. That's what he had. So if you're saying it's overrated where you can get off a career with doing one thing great, you got to be great at it. That's not overrated. You got to be great. Or you become a role player. You know how you be asking me about role players and all that, right? Well, a Reggie Miller wasn't great off the screen and couldn't fight off the screens and get loose and shoot shots, he'd have been a role player because he was too slow any other way. He didn't have much else going for him. Feel free to stop me if you think I'm lying. Reggie Miller wasn't a great ball handler per se. He wasn't exactly going to finger roll, bank shot, hook you, post you up. His thing was catch, shoot, hit them corners, knock them shots down, get off them screens, picks and rolls, make it happen, which he did. I don't know what LeBron is talking about. Guys who have an offensive bag tend to be pretty productive. Even Kareem, you can look at the hook. He could take that hook wherever he wanted to on the floor, and it was money. Inside, outside, by the rim, long range. It wasn't limited. That's why he don't make no sense. I'm glad you gave it to me because it'll give me a video to work on, but he don't be making no sense. No, what the problem is that he became the all-time leading scorer despite not being offensively gifted. Why don't he say the truth? He ain't the most gifted offensive player I've ever seen. I'll probably do that tomorrow too when I talk about that turkey. He ain't the most offensive gifted player I've ever seen. He scored a lot of points. And he stayed healthy for a long time. But is he the most gifted offensive player I've ever seen? No. Stockton did have a bag. Stockton could go inside. He knew how to use, he was quick. He used a finger roll. He had a set shot. He could shoot threes too. He was more of he had more of an offensive repertoire than LeBron's got. Thank you. Thank you. Because that left hand scoop is so underrated. When he drives, he did it to LeBron in the finals, game 2, 2018. Look at the video. LeBron was trying hard to swat that thing. Steph hit that left, goes left with that drive. You can't touch it usually. Steph underrated going to the hole with his drive, hard left. Will repost on you, real shimmy on you, will dribble on you, and can break you off with floaters. Now, yeah, you got to have a bag. If you're Steph Curry, you had to have a bag. Is he trying to call Steph overrated? Maybe he's trying to throw a subtle jab. I don't know what he's getting at it. I don't think he's got the best bag in the NBA. I don't think he do. He one of them. But I don't think he has the best bag. He can shoot inside out, get around, rotate, but I don't think he has the best bag in the NBA. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You won't believe who I'll tell you to me has the best bag in the NBA. Yeah, but he doesn't have the best bag for me. He's one of them, but he doesn't have the best for me. You know who I'm going to tell you has the best bag, as far as I'm concerned right now. Jokic, because inside out, outside in, he got a deadly standstill three, which ain't no joke. AD can't even, if you don't make him lift and move, he'll put you to sleep. He can rotate that rock, everything you used, and his footwork is underrated because he actually pivots where he's going, finds guys running to the hole, or finds his shooters around him. SGA is in that argument too because his floor spacing is sick. The only thing that hurts SGA, as I told you, he needs someone who can shoot. He needs like a cherry picker. If he had a cherry picker, he'd be MVP. He had a cherry picker, they could beat Denver. That's how serious SGA is. Those two things, because he can score and create, and his bag is sick. Because you gotta remember something. He's really depending on creating so much, and he really doesn't have a third option. So, but Jokic's bag to me is the most impressive because it's inside out, and Think about it. When you talk about getting others involved, Jamal Murray gets slept on. Are you kidding me? Any other era and time period, Jamal Murray would be getting more attention. You know, MPJ would be getting more attention. I'm just telling you. So Jokic's situation is unique. When he's consistent, yes. When he's consistent. Because he gives you hard right drive, pivot. He's strong. He's real strong on the perimeter. The problem with him is he just doesn't stay consistent. That's the problem with him. Okay, cool. Glad you came through. That's cool. I like Book, but Booker's got to get more consistent with his though. Durant's got a bag because you have to be able to dribble, shoot, and remember. Oh yeah, for LeBron talking about Kevin Durant. Hello, you ain't missing much. We just talking about stuff. You ain't missing much. Yeah, they want to know what your bag is. They want to know what your money's like. That's part of it. Durant is. Butler can post up. He can jump shoot, and he has an ability to drive. But that's in the postseason. See, all your answers is correct, except you don't get that guy until you get to the postseason. Regular season, he does enough to get through, and he has some moments. Postseason, Jimmy. Postseason, Jimmy is for real. Now, I'm talking about guys that count. I'm not talking about guys that are sidekick cats. And you're gonna be a sidekick cat, you gotta be like Robert Ory. And he has some talent, but developing to what? If Pat Riley could trade him tomorrow, he would. With development to what? He fits better when they play against Denver, but a lot of times in his series, he just ain't really that dude. And it's a shame that he's got Tim Duncan and Dave Robinson's name, but he ain't even a half of neither one of them. That's the sad part. His is gonna be scary. It ain't even started. You wait. You wait. You think it's nice now. Catch him in a couple years, especially the way he's looking. He gonna be everything Anthony Davis never was. You'll see what I'm saying. And when LeBron's gone and they're not getting all them calls, tell you, that's the dude. If Embiid don't get on, and Joel Embiid gonna be like the 49ers and the Eagles. Like I always tell you about your Packers. Joel Embiid don't get the cracking soon. Wemby's coming. Wemby's gonna be like your Packers. I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. If you ain't heard, because he's the dude that's coming. He's the one that's coming. That's the guy that's gonna be looking at Jokic and looking at Giannis. So Luca and Embiid don't get on that jewelry train. This the dude that's gonna be next in line to collect. Tell you, a couple years. No, I'm saying in a couple years. I always say the third year. I said Wemby and Jordan Love is what I expect in the third year. You saw what Jordan Love was coming up to being this year. Yeah, I'm just using that. I'm doing a cross sports reference. That's all I was doing. I'm looking at people that I say by year three, just like SGA next year. Now I'm saying next year for SGA, they going next step next year. I think. I think next year OKC gonna be next step because it'll be year three. He'll be scarier next year. Yeah, I already know about Mahomes, but I'm just making a comparison with basketball right now. Just saying. Chet's got a nice bag. It's coming. We talking about sports right now. How are you and who are you and where you from? We Chet's got a nice upside to him. You know. I hate to mention Giddy, but he'll have to be consistent. But they'll if they get their hands on a score and they still young, watch out. That could be the next team. If he ever gets back on the floor. Okay, cool. Thank you. Jaws problem. Jaws got that Deshaun Watson problem. You're almost starting to forget him. Okay, I'm glad you came through. Sports fan, if you're a sports fan, let me know what part of Arizona. I got a buddy of mine in Phoenix. Glad you came through. Ja is starting to be like Deshaun Watson. I hope he comes back next year. Because you talking about Deshaun Murray or Trey? Oh, that's a good one. I think Deshaun got better, but Trey's more marketable. Oh, Jamal? Oh, Jamal. Come on now. Jamal. Okay. My buddy's in Phoenix. Okay. I know the temperatures be crazy there. Sports fan at all? Football, baseball, basketball? Let me know. Jamal, man. Jamal's underrated. I think a lot of Jamal. Jamal's one of those guys you just kind of scratch your head while he ain't getting no more attention. Because I got a feeling he gonna go off. Oh, that's a good one. Um, oof. I gotta say Charles. Bet now better careers Malone and he worked himself better. But if you're going by the bag of offensive moves and body work, it was Barkley, yo. Barkley was a freak, man. I mean, he could go coast to coast. He could dribble. He had ooh and ah. He had play. See, because that's another thing about the bag, the ooh and ah factor and what you can do. And he had that it. Carl got better than him over time, and there's no debate about who's better for me. But the bag, we just strictly going with the bag. The bag is different than your career, so that's a different argument. KD, inside out, playoff and whatnot. It's a different argument. I don't go by the same my criterion argument's different. Like I can look at someone and, you know, KD has a better career too, but Nick was a more lethal physical player. But KD had a better bag though. Nick had a had KD's inside out and around, a different story. Zeke in a blowout. Because Iverson wasn't a pure scorer like Zeke. He could score and drive and cut you, but Zeke could inside out. Remember, I told you 40 years ago. I watched that. The higher scoring game against Denver. Zeke went from that to the bad boys. What was Iverson's ever point comparison? Now, that Laker game when he lost in the finals, but Zeke held back, has crazy handles. Remember that 45 against the Lakers 88 finals, 25 in the third quarter on one leg. Think about it. One time you see 25 today is with Steph or Clay or somebody who don't has zone and no hands on you. Zeke did that on one leg. Look up 88. Get back to me. I tell you all the time, Zeke is one of the most underrated, underappreciated greats ever. I loved Iverson, but Iverson couldn't handle with Zeke. Not to me, he couldn't. Because Zeke held back. Imagine if Zeke had been wild child like Iverson. His points would have been crazy. I don't know if he wins any rings, though. Think about it. Just telling you. People don't know how bad Isaiah Thomas was. And he could dribble. He could create. Better pure score. Stockton. Because Gary was more effective with the set shot and posting you up. That's his two bread and butters. But Stockton could take you around. And he had handles, too. And he created. He set everybody up. He ran a better offense. Gary had Sean Kemp. Gary was strong with them alley-oops, those passes, those lobs, and then backing you and posting you. Stockton could spread the whole. He was giving you the whole court. That's why Peyton City was the best that he ever went against. The heck is this? Okay, G Deep got released from prison. Ex Bad Boy. Okay, you know a lot of them did go to prison from Bad Boy. That's amazing how so many cats who went associated with Bad Boy got locked up. Mm. Keep on going. This is good. The bag argument is different than who's the better player. Wilt, because he had a finger roll. He could handle the rock. He created space. He created lane. Jordan's, to me, his ability in the air was incredible. He did develop an outside shot and a fade, but Will had so many inside moves, lateral moves. His skill set was uncanny. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I don't I don't know too many people can hang with Will Chamberlain, his bag. People gotta understand what the bag mean. Now you can debate who's greater in your personal opinion. Hmm. I'll just say D Wade. Because his handles matched Drexler. He wasn't as athletic as Drexler. Drexler was a more better athlete. But I think D Wade had a better bag because he could create his points. He could go in motion with it. He could do different things with his dribbles. He's underrated too. He's underrated too. He had an uncanny ability to split, create shots, do different things. Drexler was a freak of nature. Like he could go athletic, go at you. I don't know who this is. And Emma Walton, you got to go. People can't just come on here and just say any old kind of Irish. Well, anyway, and I like Drexler a lot. Francis. Francis was kind of like the low budget Iverson. He had crazy handles. Gilbert was a better scorer because he could score and shoot, but Francis could go. Francis was a very talented freak of movements and playing with the ball and stuff. He just didn't want to listen, and he shot his own self. Because I thought he was in the dunk contest, so that gives you another bag too, and had crazy spring in him too. Think about it. See, I look at totality of what you do on offense, not just one dimensional. So totality. Yeah, Steve Francis won a disappointment. Marbury. I like Tony Parker a lot. The teardrop is one of the sickest shots, and he could shoot outside too and post up. But Marbury could go in, out. Marbury to me was a cleaner version of Iverson. He just was hard headed, and he just didn't apply himself, and he ran himself out that league and got in the white folks' doghouse. But as far as his handles go and his skill set, he should have been way up there. It's a shame. That's a shame. Stockton. Because Kid didn't even learn how to shoot threes until he got older. He was better as time went on. Stockton was more fundamental and pure shooting. Kid's mindset as far as setting players and teammates, yes. But his offensive repertoire wasn't as deadly as Stockton. No, he didn't. How you figure? Stockton was the inside better shooter. I'll go back with you in the 02, 03 finals. Shaq and them were fighting. They would let him self-check. No one respected him as a shooter. He didn't get no respect as a shooter. Same thing happened with the Spurs. They loved him for being a floor general, but not far as his bag being a dual threat. When the Lakers played Utah in '99, there was actually Shaq and them were like, we got to go through Utah. They didn't want to have to deal with that. Stockton, I'm taking you, telling you. Now you can say Kid was more athletic. I'll give you that. And maybe you can say the mental aspect. It's tough. Yeah, well, you actually answered the question without giving me a chance to answer. But yeah, I'll give you But Pam was bad back in the day. But yeah, Bernadette still looks good too. No argument though. But if you're gonna ask me a question, let me answer. Then you can tell me if you think I'm right or I'm wrong. I'll take it. Just like how Ted did. But Stockton could shoot. Stockton could space his shots better. Bernadette. The other person that's involved above, I think what I said Bernadette was Bernadette Stanza, but I wouldn't say easily. Pam had appeal. Of course he would, because he's working for the ESPN plantation. I mean, what you expect? You saw my video, right? I did my video where I talked about that one last time. I said just, and for Ocho too, on first, whatever first thing first, whatever Ocho. They all gonna come at Angel Reese like she's bad, bully. I'll answer that in just a second. But in sports, when people win, sometimes they rub it in your face. They just slurping Caitlin Clark. Angel got what Caitlin don't have. Okay, let's keep it 100. You play to win. I saw Nick Wrong up there trying to quantify. Well, she ain't won yet. She don't have to win. See, when white folks do it, it's like you're being a team leader. Black folks do it, you're being arrogant and smug. It's a double standard. I tell you all the time. That's why I don't pay. That's why I do my own videos. I don't watch. I watch what them people have to lie to the media outlets. Okay, Angel, let me answer this. Who's more legendary? I tell you, it's Michael Jackson. He set a standard. He changed the course of music twice. But Whitney's right next to him is from, you can make a case. But his impact on black and white music, breaking barriers, impacting young boy groups, solo career, it's unmatched. It is more legendary. But she's right there as far as her impact as an artistry. Her artistry's up there too. It's just that Michael hit in a way that it's like he hit harder, but she's not that far off. Yeah, I know what Clark does. She a white girl. She a white girl, and you know, they want her to, because again, but interests me about Caitlin Clark's situation. It's true, but a black man is the reason why she's inspired. It was Steph. They talked about it. I saw that. I said, mm-hmm. I said, no matter how you size it up, it's being black pushed one way or the other. It doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter. She sells jerseys. She sells hype. They don't care. They'll cover that. They don't care. They want her to win. See, you were young when Duke beat UNLV. Same old story. I've seen this story play out before. I've seen it before. And they always, every so often, they got the criminals against the convicts against the church, Yeah, she got a nice game, but it's all predicated on the spacing she gets. She come around with spacing is huge. Her game has brought hype. Yeah, but it's not. She can't sell tickets though. She got the wrong complexion and she don't sell tickets. You know. And when you don't sell tickets, they have a way of trying to, you know, they downplay you. I'm just saying. It's not always based on your talent either. It's got much to do with your talent, you know. So I wish we could actually look at stuff and don't have to go through it like that, but we don't. We don't have that luxury. We always have politics involved. She gets mixed results from some people. Some people like her, some don't. You know, she's aware of what she's coaching, though. So, she knows that there's a lot of, you know, this disinterest in what's going on. I'd have to say, that's a good one. I'd have to probably give it to Alex English. Gervin was more creative to my liking, but Alex English, I mean, he could score from anywhere. And he had handles too. Gervin was more creative, but Alex English is very underrated. He is the kind of cat that if SGA had right now, you could bring Alex English back with SGA and OKC. I think they come out the West. I think they'd be a threat for the next 5 years. He's a great example. But you got to remember something back in the day, people didn't really respect him because Denver was seen as a second tier team who was a second round casualty. They put a lot of points up, didn't play no defense, and they were one trick pony. People forget he scored the most points in the 80s. He played today, he'd be scary, especially if you put him on the perimeter, the way he could create. Gervin gave me more excitement, but again, his thing was more predicated on the finger roll and his drives. But Alex English could hit you straight up. And imagine if he played in a three ball area where he could just score from the three and don't be checked. I mean, I might do a video about Alex English. I might be tempted to talk about that. They just played an area where it was, Bosch, because he inside out. And he was a 2010 man, and he could take you out. He could go in, he could post you, he could repost. He had different moves. Weber could shoot inside out. Now Bosch showed it from going from Toronto to Miami. I didn't see Weber change that drastically. He faded in Sacramento. That was his peak in his prime. He was never better after that. And he just got old, and his moves were pretty not as pronounced. Bosch showed me way more. I'm a C Web dude because of Wolverines, but Bosch showed me way more though. He had a repertoire. We'll just disagree on that one. And I know because some people are going to think I'm not being my Michigan boy, but no, I like Bosch's overall bag better. Weber had better hands, but Bosch could beat you in different ways. He could slice you too. Drives was underrated. CP3, because he could shoot. He was a better pure shooter. See, Jason Kidd was a smarter guard with what he did with getting everybody involved and stuff. But you got to remember, CP3 was a better pure shooter. Kidd got better as he got older. All them 3-pointers and everything he did, that was after he went to them finals. He wasn't that dude. Now, he won in Dallas, he got better. But as I told you, with me and Kidd was this. The talent was always there, but the smarts and common sense didn't really hit till he got to the Nets. He squandered a lot with Dallas and Phoenix, where CP3 was bringing it, but CP3's kryptonite was the postseason. Because let me tell you something, CP3 ever brought it in the postseason with what his skill set was, yeah, he'd be top 5. You can make a strong case. Kidd, smarter, but it wasn't because he was a better pure shooter and he utilized all his bag. CP3 had the bag. Kidd had the fast break. CP3 could do that, but CP3 could shoot set shots, shoots a straight on 3 now, and he could drive. Now you ask me who I prefer and like is Jason Kidd, but if you asking me whose bag had more stock, I gotta give CP3 that edge. These ain't always about who I, like or who I think is better. That's why I took Alex English over Gervin. I like watching George Gervin more, but he could shoot. I mean, that was kind of obvious. Just like I picked Bosch on. Keep on going. I know we're gonna differ on some. It's Elijah one because inside, outside shot, spin move, and all the way he could rotate and float. Now, Kareem's the better player to me. It ain't even close. But everything with Kareem, and he actually had a two hand. Sometimes he would shoot, but Elijah one spin move, swirl, twirl, curl had an uncanny ability with the dream shake and to float and fade, and had a nice outside J too. He could shoot top. Again, this ain't about who I think is the better career. It's about better bag. That's a different argument altogether. That's not even going to answer that. That's a troll. We go fishing. That's not even up for discussion. Okay, that's a good one. This is a good one. You are talking about Jerry West. You ain't talking about David West. I'm trolling. Uh, Jerry West. Jerry West. Kobe developed the outside shots over time, but Jerry West was a better pure shooter. Remember, they had no 3-point line when West could shoot and pop. So you can imagine what his points would have been. He was more fluid with his shot. He handled the rock. He could actually set up people. So he was a tweener guard. Now, Kobe was a main two. West could actually do 1 and 2 and 3. And he was more versatile. His repertoire offensively. Kobe got a better outside shot as time went on, but he tended to make that more hieroglyphics. Now he had more spring than Jerry West, but athleticism, West's not that far off from it when you get back into the nitty of the gritty of it. But West could spot up shoot. He was more consistent with what he did. So Michael Finley, man. Finley was underrated. He just getting injuries and timing, but I don't know what you're talking about. We go fishing, so you're gonna have to clarify. I saw Muggsy Manu play for Washington back in the 80s, and it was like a freak show. They were on the Bullets at the time. It didn't really go well. Muggsy was a good player, and Manu had some moments, but it didn't really work out. I don't know what that means. We go fishing, so to clarify. But anyway, Michael Finley had an inside outside game. Jalen got better as time went on. Finley was used to practice with Jordan. I don't know if you ever saw the video in Chicago. Jordan worked with him. Finley was nice, but he got hurt and timing worked against him. Finley's one of those guys that you kind of scratch your head and wonder why he didn't blow up bigger. She, because she could score inside out. McDyess was more of a slasher. He had outside shot, but his was more about rim ramming and he was athletic. But she was a very versatile who downplayed his skill set, if you want my honest opinion. Shoulda, woulda, coulda been way better. And his skill set was he had a versatile bag. I mean, he could score and he could drive, he could take it. You know, he's underrated with his movement. That's kind of an awkward situation because it depends on who's how you what you're going by. If Muzzy gets to shoot outside, he gonna win. I seen Manu Bowl shoot a 3-pointer. It was one of the most hilarious things I ever saw. I don't know. I wouldn't really. Again, it was kind of awkward, and they're kind of different positions and spacing and stuff. So I couldn't really answer that because it depends on what the rules are. See, I hate it when you keep bringing up Weber because I'm going to pick Vin Baker because Vin Baker had movement. Vin Baker had movement. Vin could shoot, he could post, He could drive. Weber could drive and move too, but I got more out of Vin. Vin showed more. I never got to Weber's peak and prime. His skill set was his ball handling, and he could pass and move, but I just never felt him like I just didn't feel like it didn't his college career compared to his pro career, his bag was better in college to me. Jokic. Because KG couldn't shoot dead stiff threes. And KG couldn't get his teammates on with him without the rock like Jokic. Jokic is like it's like a sergeant. It's subtle, it's movement, it flows. I never felt that way about KG. Better athlete than Jokic, but that's about it. But Jokic, he dictates, they flow, his movements, his handles. He's underrated as far as how he handles the rock. And he never gets himself caught in no man's land. They're gonna be calling him the Rocky Mountain Beast. I'm telling you. His bag is it's a unique bag because when you see him against Anthony Davis alone, that should answer your question right there. Yeah, he's been caught though. It's just a matter of where it's gonna go if they want him, and all the evidence and all the people they get talking. Montana versus Young all time. Who I take? Is that what you asking? I'm taking Joe Montana. It's not even close. Well, he got bought and paid off by Clive Davis, so that's kind of how he got in the industry. If you watch the Gene Deal interviews, he talks about Puffy talking about what he does for the community, but he lived, his lifestyle doesn't equate the same. And of course, when you get like Tupac said it best, there are no $10 million houses in the hood. So you're going to move to a different sector and place, and you're not in the same, you know. But yeah, he did what he had to do to get what he got. Anyway, Joe Montana blah for me. Steve Young was good, but yeah, Ovechkin's a bad dude. I'm not the biggest hockey fan for obvious reasons, but Ovechkin's a bad cat. He a bad cat. Gretzky was so bad for so long. Oh yeah, the Puffy stuff is real. I mean, when the feds get involved with stuff, there is no questions anymore. This ain't like your local police on a manhunt. This is the feds we talking. When the feds come after your behind, you're gonna do one or two things. You either gonna shape up or get shipped out. And I'm gonna leave it at that because it's a personal thing. Well, he should because his son got stolen and the mother of his child got deleted. So, and he probably, why not? Everybody else is. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of money to be made off this whole thing with Puffy. Believe that. A lot of money. Because that's one thing about the business. If you ain't around, they'll definitely cash your checks. So, but yeah, VGF. It's obviously the Puffy thing is real. I don't think anyone is gonna say it's not. Oh yes, the Homeland Security and people coming at your crib. That's pretty real. As smart as his handlers put him in position to be. Yeah, he's smart in the sense that he ain't got none of them properties in his name. He's smart that he had enough assets that if his rainy day came, if he had to sell anything, he'd have enough to cover him. He's straight like that. I didn't keep up with him like that, but those houses are massive, and the fact that they loaned him hundreds of millions of dollars means he was good on the investment. So Yeah. Jay-Z, very much so, because I think Beyonce, the whole thing, I think very much so. I think I'd be very worried if I were him. They're working on it. Turned out that probably Clive to Andre Harrell. Drake is gonna replace Diddy with what? With what? Replace him with what? Drake's not on Diddy's level. He just another artist that's on the pole. Kenya who? Drake is just another artist on the pole. He just a long line artist. To replace there's gonna be no replacement because first of all, Diddy came from a different era. Master P ain't gonna replace him. That day is long gone. Kanye, I don't think so. I think white folks is almost done with Kanye. I mean, they'll let him stick around and they'll make money off of him, but they're not sweating him. He didn't peaked in prime already. He's still making records and he still have a hit or so, but it's not the same as it was. Master P can't replace Puffy. He had a chance to run neck and neck with him, and he was big once upon a time, but that industry is not the same as it was. If you go back to the 90s when Master P was big, it's not the same industry. Not even close. When people say replacing stuff, y'all acting like we still stuck in 1994 or even '04 when streaming all that was just coming on the ringtones. You have no music shops. You don't depend on radio no more. And just like how I'm here right now with clicks and views and likes and shares, that's what these guys are dealing with. They're not dealing with an era where you're gonna go into a Sam Goody or you're gonna go to Tower Records or a mall record store and buy this and that. It's gone. That's forever gone. So unless y'all see something that I don't see, them days is gone. Yeah, vinyl still sells. I know Taylor Swift sold a lot of vinyl. Is it good for? That's a great question. It can be great if it's done in a unity, but I don't think it's good because it's used black talent and then it's been a minstrel show. It's black talent. It's been used like a plantation. You tell me if it's good when two of the biggest names um, were there would been no justice for Tupac and Biggie. But yet Clive Davis, Jimmy Iovine, Arista, Interscope made money left and right. Record companies kept on going. Moguls locked up, so-called moguls with blood on their hands. You tell me if that's good. The music has been used to have a dark energy. So when it's done from the basis of people rhyming and creating is one thing. That's not what has happened. It's been used as a weapon. And it's been used as a derogatory weapon to racially divide, to conflict. Yeah. But I did a video today. I don't know if you're watching in my YouTube videos. I did a video today about C. Dolores Tucker. She spoke out on this very thing 30 years ago. Oh yeah, I love the art. I mean, the creativity is incredible. But how often then you can walk around using the B word and the N word and talk about black people left and right and get anything positive out of it? Because that's like a genocide against your own. And you have these white Jewish owners who are paying black folks either from the hood or from the suburb to come into a studio and put millions of dollars to send this out to the world. And so what ends up happening is if I'm going to put a cap in you, if I'm going to put a baby in you, if I'm going to do this and do this in you, you see what's happening? What does it say to the reproduction out there? And then it's cheapening music too, because the art that they sample, the artists who original creators don't get the respect. Okay, offensive bag pet peeves. Are you talking about in basketball? I think that there's no really no pet peeves because I mean if you got a skill set, you're gonna utilize it. I will address that in just a second. We fish. Basketball, if you can utilize your, how you approach the game, it has no limitations because your creativity is on full display. If one thing doesn't work, you add something else. Give you a case in point. Michael Jordan, Karl Malone. What happened when they got older? Fade away. Think about it. They both got into a better fadeaway game. LeBron has never learned that. Kobe did. LeBron hasn't learned it yet. If he don't drive and bunny hop and roll you over and get them 13 free throws or something, where music goes from here, it depends on the people involved. I think that it takes artists to stop working with an industry that wants to 360 them, pimp them on them. You should be take a cue from what Prince said, take a cue from Mike Jackson said. You see where it happens. Back. Not necessarily because uh, your creativity can take you places. You have to be fundamentally, if you're fundamentally sound, you have a bag. That's what Tim Duncan is. So I disagree with that. He's got a high IQ. So I disagree with LeBron saying that because Tim Duncan had a high IQ. Best basketball player ever, in my opinion? That's hard to say because I think you can make a case for about 10 to 12 guys, really. I'm going to tell you why. Different eras, different way of scoring. Um, it's hard for me to just say one. I don't like it. I think there are guys who are top tier, but then I think there are guys, and even in that top tier, they did something that the other may or may not could do. So it's hard for me to pick one. I'll say this though. You asked me who's his own standards. It was Wilt Chamberlain if you're talking about his own standards. But then you can say Kareem was his own standards too. Bill Russell was his own standards. Shaquille O'Neal was his own standards. Michael Jordan was his own standards. Magic and Bird were their own standards. Tim Duncan was his own standards. Okay. I mean, you can look at certain people and make your own, because there's guys that when I say your own standards, they set such a standard, they're a benchmark. So who can really make claim as just the only one? That's what the media does. My best, if it's hard to pick it because I like something that they all did, but I can't compare time and eras. Just not fair. But I'll come back to that. It's not just the lyrics, it's about the ownership of the music. It's the way you approach stuff. If you walk around, call yourself Bad Boy, Death Row, Murder Inc., Cash Money, no, you put a certain nuance out there, it comes back and it reaps what it sows. So um I wrestle that with who I think is the best basketball player because I just think that it's kind of unfair. It really is. Because if I sat there and just said one, I'd have to say to define all eras. And, different eras have different, it's different. It's different. 20 years ago, I saw Shaq and Duncan with a power game. Now, Steph, LeBron, the way they play. Before that, with Magic Bird, it's hard to just say because every era or something has a different cadence. And there's going to be somebody that comes around, or maybe somebody that's out now. In 5, 10 years, you may look at them and say they were the best you ever saw. So, oh, no problem, no problem. I don't mind questions and stuff, and I like to answer it the best of my ability. I think that too often than not, people want to say, yeah, but he's in a different tier. I wouldn't put, now, if you're talking about cultural icon, he belongs in the last 30 years with almost anybody you can mention because for the streets and his impact. You asked me about his actual game. I got pros and minuses with that. As a scorer, he could hang. He played with a lot of energy, a lot of spunk, a lot of attitude. But I don't think that he would fit with some other guys that I might, put ahead of him. But he was a tough dude, though. But he does not belong in no all-time great with the top tier. No, for lots of reasons. Willie Mays. What about Willie Mays? Because he's one of the greatest baseball players ever, and one of the top tier guys ever. To say, "Hey, kid," changed the course of baseball. He was a standard. I hold Willie Mays in high regard. So he's kind of like, how would I describe Willie Mays? It's kind of like the Sugar Ray Robinson of baseball players, the way Sugar Ray Robinson was for boxing. Only who? A generation that's I say a generation that's under 45, definitely under 35, but people over 55 don't. Maybe 65. People over 65 don't. Well, the Mays set a standard. I think they may not they talk about him, but he still gets validation. He still gets respect. It's just that, it's a different era. I mean, obviously, when time goes on, people are not going to always remember everything unless the old school comes back. I don't think he's been forgotten. Or you watched the home run derby with okay. I can't remember what it. Uh, he was he's one of the greatest players ever. I don't think much about him. I think he's a racist piece of trash. I think he's a great manipulator. I think that he definitely has evil charisma. No, I want reparations. If you watch my videos, you understand. I talk about reparations over voting. Black man, I don't want to pick two diapers. Him and Biden are both two diapers. Both Klansmen, and they neither one interests me. Both could get locked up for different reasons. Trump's got enough. He's got a pile of debris, and so does Biden. Okay. And besides, Trump blew it with COVID. Okay. Showed his lack of leadership right there. Why would people want to be in so seduced by him? He messed it up. He messed up the safety of people. He had a national disaster, and he wrecked the situation. So why would they give him another chance? I've never been big on Trump, but he is an evil, charismatic guy. He is charismatic. He's one of those people that he got people that gravitate towards him, and it's like a rock star. The truth is, he's pretty much the only big white force they got, unless you use Eminem. Well, that's you. I grew up with him. Central Park Five, five young men, four of them were black, one Latino, falsely accused. He said to Rudy Giuliani, "Get the electric chair." Turns out some years later, those men had nothing to do with the violation of said woman jogger in New York Central Park. But he took out an ad to say lynch them. I go back before that. Housing discrimination racial refusing black tenants at his apartments that him and his daddy had in New York. Okay. See, when I was back in the day, he was a businessman, tycoon, New York, and I thought, he seemed like he was kind of hip and happening, because he definitely appealed to people. He definitely with the entertainers, with Michael Jackson, with the athletes, with Mike Tyson, with all that. But regular black folk, he wasn't those smiling yuppie sales carsman. He was a cold blooded white boy. But when you were a known black person, um, he didn't have the same energy. Oh, Central Park 5, you should do that. Do your research. I was a teenager then. I remember it like yesterday. And those young men did time. One of them is a councilman right now. He had a little episode with the police, but they cleared it up. But they went through that. They lost time. And he was leading the charge to get them lynched. And he wanted to bring the death penalty. Rudy Giuliani was there with him. And anytime you tag team with Rudy Giuliani, you got a Klan hat on your head. I can't trust you. But you're entitled to think what you want. Do your research though. Then come back to me. Tell me what you find. I've spoken out about Trump many a times. If you watch my videos, I've let it be known what I think of him. I don't think much of him. I don't get bought and paid off by these politicians. So, but I know he does his Negro PR movements, and he will be soon. He does those sorry excuse like my black people, and I've done some more for you, and I care about you, and okay. He ain't no different. He's just like Biden. He ain't giving him no reparations. He ain't gonna talk about right no wrongs. He wants to roll back civil rights because he's a bully. That's what he do. He don't play straight. But see, I don't have a dog in it because I don't care for neither one of them. They both racist bigots. They both old white men, and they both are not in touch with what's happening, and they don't want to be because they're rich. They got money on them. So, excuse me. So, I don't really be long winded about it. And bought and paid off. Bought and paid off too, because they all kiss the ring. There's like a conglomerate. When they have the WTO, when they have the World Leaders Day, when they get together, they all kiss in the same ring. There's only a handful of people who run this world. The Rothsteins and the British Empire. You have a handful that dictate everything you see. It would seem that way, wouldn't it? Putin dictates, Kim dictates. You see it. So I will tell you that, yeah, you can ask me questions, but feel free to do your research on stuff, and feel free to, examine what you're going on. But they're not offering nothing good. They're not offering anything of hope. They're using scare tactics. Mm. Good talking. I just got to get to the golf course, but get live, man. Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate you coming through. Uh, yeah, I'm glad you came through. And have a good tea time. I'm glad you're having some good weather where you are, because I'm dealing with the rain elements. It's been, I don't know. But anyway, appreciate you coming through. And yeah, next time you come through, bring more questions, and whatever you do in your findings, bring them to you too. Because I cover base. Yeah, the weather's crazy right now. It's not good weather. I think there's a message being sent to the universe. So, okay. Yeah, the weather's not cooperating. All right. Appreciate you coming through. So, yeah. See what else we got up in here. Sometimes this thing be acting right, sometimes be acting funny. So let's see what we got. Okay. Penny. Penny. He had incredible composure, style, maneuvering, all that. He's one of those guys that just got hurt. KJ could shoot and had hops. That was his underrated skill and his movement, but Penny could cover all the bases. Penny could cover all the bases. Tim Hardaway, because he had that hardcore push shot. He actually could shoot. He was a better pure scorer. It's just that he didn't score like Iverson. He didn't have the, I don't know if it was the green light, and but if you caught him in Golden State, he was a different baller than he was in Miami. But he was important in both. But Iverson had the better, obviously he had green light with scoring and everything. But Tim Hardaway had the handles, and he could shoot, and he could pick and pop. So I have to say, Tim Hardaway's was move me more. It just didn't reflect in his career. That's all. Those are two interesting questions, though. KG and Penny and Tim Hardaway and Iverson. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying, like I said, I'll make sure I clarify with anybody who watches this and reads this. I'm not saying necessarily the better player. I'm talking about the bag. It's two different things. It's two different things. Like, let me give you an example. Cross sports. Let me do a cross sport one. Randy Moss was more gifted to me than Jerry Rice, but he wasn't better. But he had what I'd say is a football player better back. I don't want to start doing football now, but I'm just going to use that as an example. He had a better overall repertoire. Very seldom do you get a guy who got the whole package and he's great. Think about it. Because usually it's cats that are great and do this, but they're short sighted in another capacity. So it has to be specialized players too when you have that kind of discussion. But basketball is the one where the bag is more obvious because you have to be an offensive force. You know. Now, it's more noticeable in basketball. Zeke. Zeke. He fundamentally, like I said before, as I was telling Ted earlier, 40 years ago, he was the highest scoring game ever. Then fast forward years later, he was the bad boys. John Stockton, as great as he is, never could match that what Zeke did. Zeke took down his scoring down a couple of notches in showmanship to become more team oriented and change their whole facade and their presentation. You can't find too many other. That's why Michael Jordan had him as second best behind Magic, because that's that rare ability to tone it down to get your teammates involved. A lot of people can't do that. Stockton was at a certain level, which was well temperature. Zeke did a 180. So, oh, that's a good one. Elgin Baylor. If I tell you 26.5, 27 points a game with no 3-point line, with that creativity, with those spin, with those moves, what do you think it would have been with a 3-point line? And he could shoot outside. Think about it. Now, I'm not saying, again, remember, like I said, this is not about who's better. We're talking about the bag and your skills and your set. Plus, Baylor was strong and muscular. Kobe did get that way over time. But Elgin Baylor was, well, let me use this quote. The great Oscar Robertson said Elgin Baylor was the greatest player he ever saw. Am I going to argue with Oscar Robertson? And Elgin was a prototype for LeBron, but as a, again, Harden, because he could Euro step, and Tiny didn't have that option. And it's not fair, really, to ask this question, because Tiny, though he led the league in scoring and assists, he didn't have the 3-point line. He didn't have the zone. He didn't have what Harden had. Harden got to basically play against robots almost the way his was doing. So it's kind of unfair because different era. But Harden had that jab. He had that, like he was driving a stick shift. And it's almost like he would hit you with his shoulders and his beard. And he got to the free throw line. If I use the bag for creating options and I get more scoring options, how many people are going to touch James Harden? He might be top 5, 10 bag ever. When I factor in the free throws, that beard, that Abraham Lincoln beard and what he did, yeah. Because he used the bag. He used a lot. Listen, I like my new better, but that's T-Mac, of course. T-Mac was a better pure scorer. T-Mac was a better pure handler. He created. Manu's biggest strength was the jab, flex. He could pick and pop. He could drive and go to the hole. But T-Mac had more versatility with his skill set. Offensively, that wasn't his problem. He showed that. And even staying in the realm of the question, T-Mac still got that one. Adrian Dantley had an incredible bag because he wasn't the fastest, but he was the most effective. He was like Kevin McHale. He was an octopus 10 feet in because he could move his hands, his legs, and you couldn't really stop him. And he created 5 free throw options. I'll make this statement to you. Adrian Dantley is probably, if we're playing inside the free throw line, like 12 feet inward, he'd probably be as much of a problem as James Harden because he got to the free throw line a lot. He created where you had to call because he was strong and you strength. Yeah, Aguirre was tough. He was a very talented player. I go back to when he was in DePaul in college. Um, his handles might be underrated. We can make a debate about that. He shot from the top of the key to the sides. Um, I wasn't blown away by his overall offensive repertoire. He could shoot, I'll give you that, and he could create. But the problem with him is that you get a guy like a Durant that comes along, he kind of gets lost in the conversation. because Durant took that to another level. Carmelo just basically became a cherry picker shooter, scorer, which he could do. But, a strong offensive force, but a guy that kind of got so watered down that people stopped caring the last 5, 6 years of his career. I'm just keeping it 100. To really appreciate him was the Denver and New York Knicks era. So I'll give you that about Baron was strong, agile, athletic. He got hurt and his ego got him hurt. Deron in Utah, I'll give you. Deron post Utah, he's on a milk carton. It didn't end well. It didn't end well. But his Utah era, I'd make a case. He had a moment. It was compact. I mean, it was more what he did. He was smart with the rock and without the rock. But it was like as a role play, you know, and it worked real well. He was in the right situations. He was in the right situations in Houston, the right situations in Boston. He got a lot of what he didn't have. Like when I watched his podcast and he talked about he beat some regular cat, which I believe. If you're a pro basketball player, you're gonna beat a regular dude because you're gonna have athleticism. But he wasn't the most athletic cat. He was considered slow and kind of chunky. He could dribble, shimmy, shake, what have you, but it wasn't a lot to his game that his assistant leader and everything like that. But it wasn't like you were overwhelmed with him shooting or scoring. He did a little bit of everything, but it wasn't anything that you were blown away by. No one's ever looking at him as a Hall of Fame player. No one is looking at him as a can't miss dude. He just gave you a little bit of everything. That's what he did well. So it's kind of like mixed bag. Sam Cassell follows as a mixed bag, but his intellect is what got him over. See, I'll tell you like this: Mark Jackson fundamentally would be a better player than Cassell, but Cassell was a smarter player. He utilized what he had. What he didn't have, that's why he came up and he was playing off of other guards. They didn't do that in New York, and that's what the problem. Mark Jackson would have looked even better with a Bernard King with Patrick Ewing. He did not have somebody there, so they got caught. Deron Williams was only but the same thing he ran against with Jerry Sloan. He became old hat very fast post Jerry Sloan. And Baron Davis, like I said, talented, but his own worst. KD. And this is a great argument too. I'm gonna tell you why. Because Paul George can shoot inside out. And he's very athletic and he gets going. But KD, you can't, there's no shot he can't make. He is one of the most gifted. When we talking, this is not fair to Paul George because Paul George, with a lot of other guys, because of his athleticism stuff, this might be a good argument. But against KD, come on now, Durant is a freak of a scorer, and his handles to go along with how he does it at a high level and a rate matches Paul George. He can do Paul George's game almost in his sleep. That's why it's not fair to Paul George against KD. Because I think as good as Paul George is, KD's another tier better. And it ain't even that close. So that's a good question too. Because it seems a lot closer than what it is, and it is close in some capacities, but when you realize how freaky KD is, as an offensive force, it's like, mm, hmm. Because I'm trying to think of someone that hmm. I got to put that in perspective. But KD's on another trajectory. He can create anywhere on the floor, pretty much, and be consistent. Well, you call it what you want to call it, but he's, like I said, he's one of the greatest offensive players I've ever seen in my life. That I can't deny, and I will defend that. He's frustrating, and he can be a headache. And, I don't usually say guys who won multiple rings and successes have short change because I don't want to ever say anything like that because it's contradictory because how hard it is to win the champ. But I will say this, it could have been a little bit more scarier. I don't look at a 7-footer with no cheat code. The guy can shoot up over you. The guy can create over you. Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. And he played when he was in Golden State. I don't think I have to say anything else. He played his best ball in Golden State. Playing with Steph and Clay, he was a nightmare. And when LeBron played him, it wasn't a matter of who's going to win the ring. It's a matter of will we get one game in because he was just in his comfort zone. I mean, he was scary. He still has those games like that once in the blue. It's not the same as it was because he's deferred so much to Devin Booker, which I don't understand. Because if Devin Booker was as half as scary as KD, we might be looking at D Book as a possible top 30 player ever. We're not. We're not even close. If he was about 5 years younger, yes. Two things would have to happen. They'd have to actually use a point guard. They'd actually have to have Jimmy Butler stay consistent. Bam would be all right, but Butler would have to be more consistent with playing and then they'd have to tailor-made it where KD would get perimeter shots. They can't have 15 people shooting, jacking up threes. That's how KD would fit better. But we ain't gonna never know that though. He fit a lot of people's culture if you've got an alpha. If you have an alpha and someone who can defend and can cover and let him, because see, KD, I gotta use my words carefully. He's not cherry picking. However, it's not exactly like he's leading the way. So work with me when I say that. Well, he's senior citizen in the sense that it's not even his age or how long he's playing. It's just that his body's been shot the last few years. He doesn't stay healthy. Because if we ever got a 2 year of him playing 80 games a season and he went crazy, he might move up the scoring charts a bit. Think about it, as much as he's missed, he'd be even, he's missed a lot. So that's the problem with him. You have to have the right components. As you saw with Kyrie and Harden, that wasn't it. As you see with Booker and that's not it. With Russell, with that wasn't it. You got to have the right component with him. If you don't have the right component with him, you see what you're seeing. And yeah, I don't know how much longer he's got left in the tank. I'd say about 2 to 3 years. When did they lose to him? Last night? Tonight? Today? I don't know because the Lakers beat the Wizards, but they had to hang on for dear life. No, well, I'll tell you this: Jordan Poole will score on you. Let me see some real quick. Jordan Poole will score on you. You might laugh, but they gave the Lakers a run last night. I don't see it because it didn't came up. Yeah. Well, no, Jordan Poole and Will score. Yeah, Jordan Poole and Will score on you though. And remember, any given night. Plus, the Phoenix didn't get what the Lakers got with 30 free throw attempts more. So that's another reason why you win games too. Let's not get it twisted. You do get a lot more free throws. That's a fact. I keep up with the free throw disparity. And I don't know where y'all would be if I didn't have all them free throws. Yeah, he's been what he was. But that's the least of my problems with him. My problems with him is that he just ain't really got his game going no more. You can say what you want to say, but if I give you more free throw opportunities, it's not fair. It's hard to watch that basketball. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm not the only one. It's hard to watch it. You could sit there and say make more free throws, but if you're winning games by 4 points or 5 points and you get 15 more free throws than the other team, and they only missed one free throw watching it last night, I kept up one or two. You tell me. And that's 2 games against a depleted, embarrassing joke of a team that ain't even worth winning 25 games, underachieving, which is stealing money. You tell me. I'm not impressed. And you still ninth seed. I'm not impressed. There's nothing that the Lakers do that impresses me. Sometimes they get phantom calls. It's not just like they getting fouled. How about when they get fouled? And LeBron's elbows could have got him thrown out the game. He swung full arm and knocked dude in the face. It's not the first rodeo. They don't call free throws the same. See, I like how Laker fans like to ignore the fact and act like AD is somehow Shaquille O'Neal. He ain't. D'Angelo Russell getting treated like he's James Harden. He's not. LeBron James, who's half hearts, goes to the free throw line. They're not playing aggressive paint basketball. They're not one of the biggest teams that get their points in the paint. They're a jump shooting team too. If we call off, you notice every time the games are called fair, they get their butt handed to them. I'm just gonna tell you what I know. You better hope that the refs don't not blow the whistles in the postseason. You won't last long. Because I'm calling it like I see it, and it does make a difference with the free throw disparaging because it's hard to watch the game, especially when you don't have guys who are necessarily dominating the paint. And I'm looking at the NBA for what they do. If they're gonna start doing that, then I want to see more in the post with teams getting called balance. That's what I'm going by. So you can get fouled on 3 pointers, but you can't explain away a plus 20 free throw shooting attempts and you only win by 4 or 5 points. And 2 times against Washington. And the first time against Milwaukee, that game that was in LA. And then you've had about 7 or 8 games that are like this. It's been pointed out. I'm not the only one that talks about it. But you see, I call it when it's not right either. I would be disappointed if the Heat were getting unnecessary free throws when they don't play worth it too. See, first of all, show me a bigs that's dominating the paint right now that merits all those free throw disparaging, and I want to see it. Then I can co-sign it. I don't see it. When Shaq played, I understand. They don't get that much help from the refs, but the Miami Heat aren't that seen. They're not a free throw juggernaut. Bam doesn't take a proportional amount of free throws. Jimmy Butler doesn't take a proportional amount of free throws. And I think it's because we're not in an era where that is commonplace. That's the problem I have with it too. See, if your argument would be legit, if we were in an era where there was home cooking meant something, um, if it was done as such, we're not in that era no more. That's the problem I have with it. It's hard for me to watch the basketball now anyway. It just really is. It's deplorable basketball because it's just not really cut out on fundamental team ball. Well, that's been the case, but LeBron's a king of that too. He's one of the centerpieces of it. He still flops too. They haven't changed it that much. So I think I'll be glad when this era of basketball is almost over, to be honest with you. And we get to see what the cats come along can do. I'm not really feeling it's getting tiring. They flopped back then. It was acting because everybody got calls. Magic got calls, Bird got calls. No, no. But it was done it became a superstar driven league with that. I'm not gonna sit here and say that because I saw it. Jordan got a lot of calls too. But guys that were used to be actors blew up with it, but it was on teams that were stacked. That's the difference. That's the difference. See, the NBA has always supported superstars as long as I can remember. That hasn't changed. It's a superstar driven league. Superstars had calls. We never. So let me answer this the best way I know how to. Superstar teams were always in the finals. Okay. So if you play for Boston, LA, there was a time there was only like a handful of teams that won chips. If I go back to 1980, so the Celtics and the Lakers won 8 combined, Magic and Bird. Philadelphia won 1. Detroit won 2. So, yeah, you will. But my point is, I'm trying to just throw this out there. Boston won 3, LA, Detroit, Philly. So you had 5 teams that won rings before Chicago took off. And then Houston, San Antonio. So you had 8 teams that had won rings. And then went back to the Lakers and the Spurs. And it went back to Detroit. Miami became the new fish. See, that's the point I'm trying to tell you. Ain't but so many teams than won. That's why it's always looked like it was fixed and filed. So to talk about the acting and all that, that's on the league because really, till Miami, Dallas became the new kids, it was and the Spurs got in on it. It was the Lakers and the Spurs. You think about how I talk about dominance. Then we fast forward to the 1-1s Miami, then you get Miami and the Spurs. Wasn't until Golden State got going. See where I'm going with this? Toronto got that one token one. Milwaukee got that one. Denver got that one. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you at all. But I hate it when people act like Dwayne Wade wasn't that great either. But they did attack him. Shaq earned his free throws he made. But yeah, refs come in, they support who they want. I told you Mark Cuban ticked a lot of people off. He was not the same owner that you see that got jolly after he won the ring. David Stern couldn't stand him. Couldn't stand him for some of the stuff he was putting out there. And these people are long on memories too. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit there and argue against you. Um, it was a yes and a no with that one because I do believe they got help, but I'm gonna say this: Shaq should never got thrown out of game too. And you can make the case to help you in game 6. I remember that. But Sacramento missed all those free throws in game 7. Had went the game with overtime, didn't finish it up. But Shaq was not properly called because he should have had about 30 attempts. That's just the fact. So when people say that the refs fixed it, I'm like, well, what about the Shaq factor? That's the pro I keep coming back to. He wasn't a bum. He just his legs was shot. He wasn't a bum. He was MVP worthy candidate. Wasn't no bum. Give Rick Fox his due on defense. Don't call him man bum. Give Rick Fox his due. Fox put some D on him. They weren't used to finishing up. That's the difference. Shaq and Kobe know how to finish up. I thought Page had played goodness is it's just that they never had a guy that was the leader on that team. You keep asking about you keep throwing Chris Webber at me. He never was a leader. Joe DeVlardy wasn't that dude. Beebe wasn't that dude. They were talented enough, and Rick Alderman's a good coach, and they were making able to stay with the Lakers. But could they have beaten them? Probably if they had been able to win one of those games when they were up. But and they never came back again after that too. But Pager was a legit player. He wasn't no bum. I like Pager. It's just that Rick Fox put some D on him. That's all. He D'd him up, got physical with him, bumped him. That's what happened. It's always been a referee discrepancies when any teams that have won dynasties in the NBA. That's just a fact. We could sit here and talk conspiracy all we want. I'm not gonna argue with you on it. But that doesn't make it right either. We'll never know what could have been if the NBA doesn't be tampered with. My point is the Lakers won 5 in the 80s, 5 from when Kobe and that whole era, and one. So you're talking about let's look at this a minute. 11 chips in the last 40 years, 40 plus years. They did. Because I don't think if they don't go to the bubble, they don't win. I don't think they were the best team. They were very fortunate. But that's 11 chips. And then they lost one to Philly. They lost 2 to Detroit. That's 3. Lost to Boston in 84. That's 5. So they have. So I'm trying to count this up. So let me get this real quick. So they lost to Boston. Oh, let me do this. Let me do this again. Philly, Boston in the 80s, and then Boston with Pierce. So that's 3. Detroit, that's 5. Okay. So in Chicago, So I'm gonna do the best I can with my math, and you can help me on this. 17 finals appearances since 1980 and 11 chips. Does that sound like a balanced league to you? 11 rings since 1980. So basically, one every in four, 11 goes in the. So does that tell you that that's one every 10? So that doesn't sound balanced. Boston with Bird won 3, Pierce got 1. So they won 4, lost to the Lakers twice in the 80s and once with Kobe. So 7 finals for 7. So LA and Boston combined been to 24 finals and got 15 rings in the last 40 years. That's 2 teams. That's about 35%, 30, 40, 30, 35% of what. So, yeah, that's why the league looks suspect. Yeah. Yeah. They did. There was a lot of hoopla. But it was done mainly because they didn't know how they want to pay respects to him. It was a very touchy subject. It still is touchy. He's a touchy topic. Well, they hadn't experienced anything like it. You take that how you want to take it. They had nothing else to merit on. I mean, you lose one of the most important players, part of your history. How are you going to go about it? I'm just saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying, how were they supposed to do? He was one of the most important ambassadors. He was polarizing. He died very young, and it has so many unanswered questions. So you tell me how you answer it. It's a touchy subject. He's going to be continue to be a touchy subject. But what they've done now, you want to talk about what they've done? They brought LeBron to the West. They've tried to downplay him. That's the shame. That's the shame. If you want to talk about the shame. Because now he's become I don't want to say a forgotten piece, but they've written him out of his maybe historical spot. Now, he could have been considered like a robotic version of Jordan. You may have looked at it as a clone. It may have been sickening to you. May have been like the first and one robot of a player where he talked like him, he walked like him. That was spooky. Okay. But he was great and he duplicated a lot of stuff. But that might necessarily mean that you rank him as high, but he was more closer to Jordan than LeBron is. LeBron is not in the same stratosphere, but again, that's a different argument. But that's the danger part of it. And Kobe would fit better in LA than LeBron does. LeBron is like one of them casualties that has come out to LA and they've made him Kobe because he did a lot more with his movement over time. English was a better pure scorer. No, I can't say that because English could score. English was a better pure scorer. But Kobe's athletic bag and repertoire was deeper. He got inside out and he had a scary inside game. His inside game went to another level. Alex English was never a flight man. English was a better pure scorer, though. Like if we're talking pure shooting, yes. Pure score, pure scoring, like shooting, yes. English. But Kobe had an effective repertoire of moves and arsenal. Yeah, it's a good debate. Pat Riley. Because Brown was more X's and O's and structural. But Riley had his role players looking good. Riley had his bigs come up big. Brown is one of those guys, it's like you have to pretty much have the underdog thing. Pat Riley can beat you with his upper guys and his other guys, but he's a stickler for style. Brown is more straight X's and O's, but Riley's style trumps that, pun intended. So his bag was more versatile. That's a good one here. Ooh, that's a great one. Not talking about who I rank over the one or the other. I got to say Pop because he was able to shift from Robinson to Duncan. And then you had Parker was a finals MVP. Ginobili looked like a finals MVP in 05. Then we fast forward to when the Spurs beat the Heat. Kawhi was. So you go from Duncan as an MVP, Parker as an MVP, Kawhi as MVP. Fields was always predicated on the alpha of the team, Jordan, Shaq, and then Kobe. The coaches that can, and that first of all, before you go into it about what Steve Kerr with that whole thing had with Iguodala, you can make the case Steph should have got that MVP, that first one. That's debatable because that was, but there was no doubt with Durant, and then when Steph got it. But Pop's structural had other people shining more. That's the coaching bag. Phil went head first with who his alpha was. Now, Riley, Magic, Kareem, Worthy. Think about it. The more versatile your bag is, the more options you arrive at. Great questions on these coaches because then that puts that in perspective about the bag, which contradicts LeBron James. And don't nobody dare ask me LeBron against nobody because he's omitted. I am banning him from any bag discussion because he was dumb enough to say an offensive bag is overrated. So therefore he's overrated and he's non-applicable. Okay, so thank you for not mentioning him because I'm not going to address him for saying such stupidness. Heck yeah, you need a bag. Bullying and shooting arc threes and making some shots and getting some free throws and stuff. And he didn't really have an offensive game. That's the ironic thing about him passing Kareem. He ain't got Kareem before you even ask. He has nobody beat. But he has a mental aspect to scoring and all that. But this is a great one right here. This might be the best one here to Phil and Pop because it made me think about what Pop did. And seriously, Ginobili, if they beat Detroit in less than 6 games, Ginobili could have been the finals MVP that year. Parker did get it in 07 against Cleveland. Kawhi did get it in 2014. Great question, Seth. Great question. That's one of my favorite questions. Because you got to think about how you come to these decisions. George Karl, because Nelson had more fun and variety, but George Karl got more out of his talent Obviously, from Gary Payton and Sean Kemp to what he got with Carmelo. I like Nelson's fun more, but I like George Karl utilizing that skill. I think he got more out of it. I saw Don Nelson, and he didn't get it out of Sidney Moncrief and them, and he didn't get it out of Run TMC in Golden State or Dallas, really. He drafted better talent. He had more to work with. He didn't utilize it better. George Karl utilized it better. George Karl got the finals. And he showcased offense more. So I got to give to George Karl on that. He's the best coach that Carmelo Anthony ever had for offense. He's the best coach that Gary Payton ever had for offense. Therefore, I got to give it to him. I like watching Don Nelson's structure more, but I got to give it to George Karl. Those are two coaches that fall in the Martin Schottenheimer school of the NBA who woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't get the job done. Should have had a ring, 2 each. They should have been there with Rudy Tomjanovich. They were precursors to Rudy T, too. Just didn't finish. This is a no-brainer. It's Rudy T in a blowout. Come on now. Doc's had better talent, but Rudy T utilized all that. And I just got through talking about Sam Cassell. I got through talking about what Sam Cassell did, Mario Elie. Did they not go other places and win rings? Cassell won in Boston, Mario Elie won in San Antonio. Robert Horry. That's better offensive bag. That's utilizing all your skill sets. Doc always shorts changes. CP3 is a great example. CP3 is a better guard than Kenny Smith and Cassell put together pretty much. Didn't utilize finish. Rudy T in a blowout. But Rudy T with Robert Horry alone in a blowout. But Sam Cassell in a blowout. With Mario Elie in a blowout. Doc's had better talent. Again, we're not talking about what you had, is what you got the results with. And also how you utilized it. Big difference. I'm not going to let me do football tomorrow night. I just want to stick to basketball tonight because football's a little bit different because I have to really think about it. So hold that one to tomorrow on that. I'll answer just this one, but let's do football tomorrow because football's it's a different animal. When I did the Moss and Rice thing, because I was doing totality about the skill set, but it's a little bit different. So I will answer just this one football one. If I had to answer that question, it's Steve Smith. Because aside from acrobatic catches, what else did OBJ have over Steve Smith? And plus, Steve Smith was undersized. He utilized speed, strength, finesse, utilized the field better. OBJ hit you on slants and acrobats and talent, but Steve Smith had more overall bag and tougher to me pound for pound. But tomorrow, if you want to talk football, we'll do that tomorrow. But I have to give Steve Smith the edge. It ain't OBJ still basically lives off of his reel to reel. He made a few catches that are legendary. I'll give you that. But when we're talking about against guys who did it down for down, pound for pound, that's not why we like OBJ. That catch in New York, Lenny Wilkins. Because he took his team to the finals, he won, but also how he won with Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson. Don Nelson, again, underachieved. And that does count for stuff because if you don't utilize with your talents, it's kind of like if you were asking me, let me give you an example, right? You ask me, who could I pick on? I got to pick on somebody, a coach that If you ask me, Tony Dungy versus Sean McDermott, I gotta go with the guy who utilized all and got what he got. Well, Lenny Wilkens did. Lenny Wilkens never coached. I think Don Nelson. Let me think about Don Nelson. He coached. I'm trying to think. I gotta figure it out, but I'll get back to it. But Lenny got more out of it. Casey Jones, because of the fact that Kevin McHale became what he became, ingratiating Bill Walton, ingratiating Dennis Johnson. He did that all with guys who either were veterans or guys who were playing in different roles and capacities. He understood how to make adjustments. He understood how to utilize it. Pop never was in a succession as Casey Jones. What I mean by succession, Boston was in competing for titles every year. Not you win one and you're off for 2 or 3 and you go back. KC did it with succession. Pop was close though with conference finals. Casey actually did it. And actually, Casey took it from just being a Larry Bird doing what you want to everybody else being utilized. That's why McHale became more versatile. That's why Parrish became more versatile. That's why Dennis Johnson was more versatile. Even Danny Ainge could scare you. And Bill Walton coming over. He was putting those teams in succession because they went to multiple finals in a row. They won 2, but they went to multiple, they won 2 rings with KC, and they were in the finals almost year in and year out, 84 through 87. That's a fact. So he did that better. He did that better. They played at a high level and they competed. And they were in a competitive Eastern Conference too, mind you. Yeah, that's true. I'm not arguing that. And he's a Hall of Fame player too, and one of the 50 greatest ever. So how to boot? If Casey Jones was white, and I'm not hating on listen, Red and Bird are 2 greats. Okay. Red Auerbach is the greatest non-playing entity because what he put together there, that'll never be touched in pro sports again. And Bird, as time goes on, that's why he's top 5 or 6 ever for me. But they are racist and white to the bone. That's 2 things can be true at the same time. But Casey was underrated and underappreciated. If Casey Jones was white, but let me tell you something. If Don Nelson had done what Casey Jones did, could win and be considered great, they'd be putting a statue of him out. That's just a fact. So, 2 different things, but true. And I remember watching him because he was underrated, underappreciated. But they had a certain grit and a toughness about it, and they were there. Well, you weren't there to remember, but Bird got Bill Fitch's butt up out of there. Chris Ford didn't last long as a Celtics coach. He didn't make it. Emil Carr didn't get much. Casey Jones made that thing pop. And it took them a while before they got back to where they got. But they were a special team with Mr. Casey Jones. So, anyway, I got to go because I'm going to go eat. Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate all the comments. Tomorrow night, to you, before I go, it was underrated because they got a lot of player in motion. Save the football ones for tomorrow. I mean, I love the basketball, but if you want to do football tomorrow, I'll be ready to go into it. But it was great that we did basketball because basketball is easier to talk about the bag. And because LeBron James brought this up. So appreciate you for mentioning what he said because I don't really waste my time watching his podcast, but I appreciate you giving me little tidbits because he's going to say some stuff that's real asinine and off the wall. He's not the most skilled offensive player I've ever seen. It's the irony that he's got the most points ever for a guy who I don't really feel is what I call offensively gifted. Because he's got a physicality where he can drive to the hole, spot shot, does a fade, shoots threes. But I'm not really blown away by his offensive game. He should have a hook shot, a low post move. And I just think really, I thought when he's in Miami, that's the best time. And that first finals that they lost in 2005, no, 2015. 2015. I was impressed. That's the best I think he played on that level, but I'm not really impressed by his offensive rep. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and check out. Appreciate everybody coming through. Peace, be safe, stay warm, stay cool. Blessings. Take care of yourself. Till next time I catch you. Peace the best. I'm out.